Hey y'all, it's your girl Lenita Harris here, and today we're going to be talking about music, how it affects us, and how we can use that to our advantage. Now, I know last week I said I was going to be talking about music and sex this week, but child, when I got to talking, I realized they needed separate episodes. Y'all don't mind, do you? I hope not. Let's get into it.
It's never too late for you to embrace who you are. It's never too late to embrace who you were designed to be.
So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start with the scripture, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. I'm going to read it from the Amplified Classic Version, which says, "Keep and guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all that you guard, for out of it flow the springs of life." Now, the King James Version says the issues of life. So what does it mean to guard your heart? How does one do that? Well, by keeping watch over what you allow into your mind, by being very conscious of your surroundings and what you're allowing yourself to look at, hear, and learn, because there are seeds in everything, and a seed always produces fruit after its own kind. Now, there are 5 gates to the heart that are spoken of, and those gates are the 5 senses. So one of the teachings that spawned from this scripture is that you guard or protect your heart by being very selective in what you open your gates to allow into yourself. So let's talk about these ear gates. If you were raised in church or have been around church circles a good bit, then you may also have heard that spirits are attached to music and that you should be mindful of what you listen to because demonic spirits can attach themselves to you through music. You may have also heard that the reason that is a thing is because Satan, Lucifer, the devil, or whatever, was in charge of the music or praise and worship in heaven. Now that's coming from Ezekiel chapter 28, which describes the king of Tyre as having timbrels and pipes or musical instruments as part of his being. And the king happened to be very prominent, but eventually lost it all due to arrogance. Now this story has been used as an allegory for Lucifer being in charge of the music in heaven and his subsequent fall from grace all the way down into hell due to arrogance, and then the name change to Satan that followed. And so because Satan is perceived in church as being the quote unquote God of this world, it's been theorized that music is where he has a heavy influence and can gain a stronghold in someone's mind and subsequently their heart, which will then lead to him being able to manipulate them in their lives. Now, guys, that may or may not be true. I don't know. And quite frankly, it's not that important to me to know because I'm not here at this moment to prove or disprove any of that. I'm just throwing it out there as an example of the language and expressions that you may have heard. In simple terminology, I think we can all agree and tell just by our own life experiences that music can and does have a huge impact on our emotions and psychological states. Whether or not angels or demons are behind that, honey, listen, don't concern yourself with that because all you need to know and understand for the purposes of this podcast on today is that music is very, very impactful on our emotions and our psyches. Now, for your own reference, you can look at countless studies if you want to. If you're into the science and the research and stuff like that, just Google music and the psyche and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. Guys, did you know there's a whole sector of therapy called music therapy? At one point in my life, about 15 years or so ago, I briefly looked into becoming a music therapist because I really loved music so much and because I used it very often to help me manage my own emotions. So since we've been talking about balance, let's go ahead and answer a couple of questions. Number 1, is there a such thing as good music and bad music? Number 2, if you're a Christian, should you only listen to Christian music? Number 3, if you are a Christian, are you going to hell or is your life going to be not as fulfilled as it could have been if you don't listen to Christian music predominantly? Guys, I'm just going to go ahead and say no. The answer is no to all 3, okay? Because good and bad is largely subjective, so there are few things that can be fully classified as one or the other. Perhaps the better question is whether or not some music is more beneficial to you in certain seasons of your life than others. Now that's something to ponder. So I'm going to tell you what I've lived and experienced. For those of you who don't know, I have extensive training in worship leadership, as that was my predominant area of volunteer services in every church I've been a part of. I'm here to tell you, music can be very, very helpful in managing your emotions, releasing buildups of energy, and especially in an emotional healing process. Ooh, the stories that I could tell y'all, but let me just tell you, let me let you know, music has been a great friend of mine. It can help you navigate. It can inspire you to create. See, music is a way of expression and communication, and the music is birthed from whatever abundance of energy the creator of that music has inside of them, because we are beings of energy, and whatever energy we have in abundance will flow out of us, period. That's basically the scripture that we read. Guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life, right? Y'all, I'm going to tell you something scientific about our subconscious minds. It's not a secret, so look it up if you want to. Our subconscious minds are completely impartial to information presented to it. And our subconscious minds are way more powerful than our conscious minds. I'm no neuroscientist, but my understanding is that the subconscious mind is basically like a computer processor. It processes huge amounts of information or data that comes in via the five senses and then translates that data into messages that our brain can understand, which means that many times the messages that our brain understands are unique to us. And the subconscious mind is in charge of forming our belief system. And our belief system is formed by those messages. And then those messages inform and influence our behavior. Now, here's the kicker. Because it's impartial, the subconscious mind will accept whatever is presented to it enough times as fact and then file it away as true for us. Notice I didn't say true, period. I said true for us. Once it has filed something away as true for us, it will then start drawing our attention to options that reinforce that quote unquote truth. And when we have a buildup of energy that needs to be released or a strong enough desire, it will show us options or suggestions along the lines of that quote unquote truth to help us accomplish that desire. See, that's how our bodies are designed to function, guys, period. Now that's the science. That ain't no demon. I'm going to just leave that right there and then I'm going to move on. Are you now starting to see the pattern of how those issues of life start flowing out of us? Music is just another tool that we can use to help us accomplish a goal. So with music, just like anything else, you have to examine yourself as it relates to the music that you're listening to. What types of music do you really like to listen to? What types of music do you tend to shy away from? How do these types of music make you feel? Lastly, what are the lyrics in the music? Because the subconscious mind is registering the data from those lyrics. You can't listen to quote unquote the beat or just the music without your mind hearing the lyrics and you learning the lyrics, at least to some degree, because repetition is the fastest and easiest way to get a message to your subconscious mind. And that repetition happens so easily listening to music over and over and over again, or listening to certain songs over and over and over again. So in this examination period of yourself, analyze how your go-to music affects your emotions. Is there a noticeable change in your emotions and or thoughts that you're thinking? Do you notice a change in how you operate during or after you've listened to your go-to music? Now listen, don't be harsh with yourself in this analysis. Just observe. That's all you're there trying to do. Observe yourself. If you're noticing a change that doesn't seem to be beneficial for you, dial it back and maybe don't listen to that particular song or that particular type of music as much and see what happens then. If you notice a change that is beneficial for you, then either keep going at that pace or maybe dial it up to kick it up a notch. See what happens then. Either way, you are going to have to choose what type of balance you want to have because you're the one that's controlling the little dials. So let your behavior and thoughts act like a gauge to let you know where and when to make adjustments. For example, if you know that you are a person that is highly driven by anger and you can just snap at a moment's notice, you probably don't need to listen to a lot of angry rap or music that carries an angry vibe because that is reinforcing your angry energy, especially, oh Lord, especially if you're in a moment of anger. Yo, that is definitely not a wise decision because it's more probable that you'll do something not to your best interest. I do understand that some people use their anger as fuel to perform, like professional fighters or people in contact sports, right? But they're only using that emotion because there's an abundance of that emotion in them. And perhaps that sport is the outlet they found to channel that emotion in a legal, acceptable way. And then it just became their career. And angry music is one of the tools they've chosen to use to accomplish their goal of winning their matches. Here's the thing though, they're not going to be in that sport for the rest of their life. So if they don't find another way to cope and channel or diffuse that anger, then their growth as a human will be hindered because that anger will fail them in the end. Remember last week we talked about the abundant energy from negative habits leading to destruction in some way? See, I just used anger here as an example. But this principle is true for whatever emotion that is negative that you feel. If you don't find a healthier way to cope or channel or diffuse that negative emotion, there's going to be destruction someplace in your life. Now, you may be listening and consider yourself a very spiritual person and thereby a proverbial fighter, perhaps. You may not actually be throwing fists in this natural realm, but you believe you're fighting the devil with God's help. And if that's you, okay, I understand. I used to feel the same way. And I listened to many of songs that hyped me up. Do you hear me? Waging War by CeCe Winans was my hit, bro. Anoint my hands, anoint my feet. Listen. Looking back on it, baby, I don't know what war I was actually fighting, but I felt like I was fighting one. And I was being told that I needed to fight. See, that's the perpetual battle in spiritual warfare. And so I understand. And if that's the path that you want to go down, I totally get it. I've been there. And I just want to submit for your consideration that not everything is that deep. Sometimes, honey, many times, the stuff we need to do is just basic. So if you run into a brick wall somewhere down the line in your path, ask God if you're overlooking something basic that you could do to win your battle. Just speaking from experience here. If you are a person that is typically sad or depressed, maybe you deal with some type of clinical depression or something like that because you have a chemical imbalance or you've been told that you have a chemical imbalance and are more prone to sadness, then it's not wise for you to listen to a lot of sad music, because it's going to be charged with the energy that you really don't need any more of because you're already chemically out of balance in that area. Same goes if you're a person that's trying to abstain from some type of sexual pleasures for whatever your reasons are. It is not wise to listen to a lot of music charged with a lot of sensual energy because you happen to be trying to curtail that energy in your life. So let's conclude this thing by talking about balancing yourself. You may be listening to me and say, but Lenita, when I'm sad, I want to listen to sad music because it makes me feel something. Or I want to listen to hardcore music when I'm angry because I identify with that rage. Or I want to listen to music with a sensual charge when I'm feeling like I want to do a little something, even though I'm trying to abstain. Listen, I get it. And it's completely understandable because thanks to your subconscious mind, you will feel some level of satisfaction from doing this because the music is filled with messages of reinforcement for whatever you believe. But if you desire to make a change in your life, hear me good, you gotta help yourself out by disciplining yourself. And one great area you can start that discipline in is music. If you're overwhelmed or filled with an emotion that is shaping up to not be very beneficial to you, then as swiftly as you can, guys, put on some music that is charged with energy in an opposite direction. I'm not saying that it has to be gospel or Christian, no, because there is tons of positive and encouraging music out there. You just need to listen to something that will give your mind another message and break up the flow of all of that energy for you. That's it. At the end of the day, guys, music is a gift. It's just another tool, guys. It's neither good or bad. It just is. It's a source of energy and fuel that you can use to help you accomplish a goal. It's never a mindless thing. By design of our subconscious mind in the human body, nothing is ever mindless. So don't fool yourself into thinking that it is or that it can be. Your subconscious mind will be picking up whatever message is being put down. So how can you use this tool of music to help you accomplish a goal in this season of your life? If you desire a change in your life, the best place to start is to change what you allow through the gates of your five senses. For change to happen in an area of your life, you need to send your subconscious mind the message that supports the change you want to see in yourself. And then intentionally bombard your senses with that message. So your mind can then process that message as true for you. And then your behavior can follow, which then will lead you to the manifestation of your desired change. Now, how long it will take you specifically to see the manifestation of that desired change will only be known in retrospect after you've accomplished your goal. The only thing that you can do while you're working toward accomplishing it is keep going and don't stop until you see the manifestation of that desire in your life. For that is what faith looks like, my friends. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Don't stop until you see the physical evidence of something that began as just a hope in you. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk About It, the Gray Area. Next week, we'll be continuing our series on balance by talking about sex. So you don't want to miss it. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
You can start